This is a video for Sean at Lawnright. I keep promising to make a mole video for you, so I'm doing this one a bit on impromptu. Again, I keep forgetting my camera stand, but this might be worthwhile for you and anybody else that is struggling with moles. This is a regular customer. They do get a lot of moles, basically because they're in a very rural position and they come in across various paddocks and fields. As you can see, there's quite a and they keep horses, so obviously because of the danger to horses falling down holes and tunnels collapsing and twisted legs and whatnot, they try and keep on top of the moles, which is a good thing. I know for past experience and a point with my stick, they come in, they run down the side of here. I know there's a run underneath there, a tunnel into here, and then they spread out into the garden. You tend to find they follow trees, hedge lines, fences. If they're in the middle of a lawn, it's normally because they're going into the lawn for feeding to find worms. So the real trick is finding one of the main runs to set your traps in, rather than just the feed offshoots, although you can still put them in the feed offshoots. I also know that they run along this concrete here, and they also get a lot coming in from this hedgerow here. So this hedgerow, and the reason why they sort of follow these sort of patterns is because there's not a lot of traffic, so the soil's quite soft, whereas the main lawns tend to be a bit more compact, so they're a bit more harder work for a mole to dig through, although they're built for the job and they'll soon get through it quite quickly. You can see from various lumps in the past, that's an old molehill, another old molehill, another old molehill. They've been suffering for years, and they called me in to sort of get on top of the moles, so I just keep coming back every time a new molehill pops up and we catch that one and keep going, and hopefully over time we'll diminish the number of moles that keep coming into the lawned area from the paddocks. This is one I've already set. Now, as you can see, this is the molehill. We don't set traps in the molehill directly, you set them in the tunnels, and there's various different traps you can use. I tend to prefer the old French style. They work much better. I'll just get one for you. So these ones are called a Putange. These are my preference. The reason why I like using these ones, they're very sensitive. Once they're set, you can't actually see where they are. So if you've got dogs or children, it's very unlikely they're going to get messed with, touched, get their fingers caught in them. Although I do mark them with flags because of finding them later, because if they're down under the soil, you've got a hard job to find them if you don't mark where they are. This is the little trigger bit. When you purchase these sort of things, these and these come together but they're not connected, so the first job you have to do is go around and connect all the trigger plates to the Putange itself. So I'm going to just set one of those in a minute. I will do another video at some stage with all the different traps I've got and how I use them all. So part one, finding where to place your trap. Look for your molehill. If you've got multiple molehills, this is an old one, but it could be part of the same system, and another molehill, the best place to look is in between the two. So my bar is a little bit thicker on the end than it is on the rest, so as I push it in there's resistance, and then if I find the mole tunnel, it'll give way and the bar will slide easily on the thinner part through the hole. Let me just see if I can actually get it into the ground. Right, okay, so hit it almost straight away there. So I'm having to put pressure on. You could probably just about see a bit of bend in my stick. So that's taking a bit of pressure to push down. A bit of pressure to push down. It's going in. And then if I come here, if you watch, there you go, see, you can hear that I'm touching the bottom of the tunnel and the top of the tunnel, so that's where the tunnel is. Now, I don't normally set this close to my holes, but I just know I can get away with this at this particular spot. So my next job is to uncover the tunnel. Now, if you use a small sharp trowel, if you cut as if you were checking for problems with lawns, like if you're looking for thatch or you're looking for grubs, so you're cutting at an angle in, so you're almost creating like a plug, which like a cork, so it's shaped so it'll sit back in the hole after, because we'll need this in a minute. So I'm just going to go all the way around there, take my rod out. Sorry, I'm losing the focus there. That's it, take that out. So I'm just going to take this little core out here. Let me just dig that, get that separated properly. This is not easy one-handed. I can do these quite quickly normally. And I'm just going to fold that back. Now I'm going to see if I can find the tunnel. Now the first thing you want to do is, when you're cleaning the tunnel out, I'm getting rid of all the stuff I've just knocked down. You want no bits of grass in. If you get these bits of grass in there breaking off and going down the bottom, a mole will smell that and know something's wrong. They're designed to live underground, so they can cope very well with very low oxygen, but they have an amazing sense of smell, and they will smell that, and that'll keep them away from where you're trying to trap them. So they'll just move across the garden somewhere else and do more damage somewhere else, make a new tunnel. Okay, right. Now I found the tunnel and cleared a bit of soil out, I have my amazing bucket of many things, bit of a spoon, I'll bend it up, and all I'm going to do is just show you if I can get, so the tunnel runs that way and the tunnel runs that way, so one's going that way and one's going that way. Now the advantage with these sort of Putange type is, for every time you set a trap you need to put two in, but because you're putting two in separately, rather than some of the other traps which can only do a straight line, I can put these at any angle. And of course, if I come across one that's got perhaps 3 tunnel join, I can do 3, I can do 4. So these are much more versatile. Right, and what I'm going to try and do now is set one, and I think I'm going to try and video this now. I'm going to try and video. Let me see if I can just prop my phone up against something so I can. Bear with me. Right, let me just try and prop that in such a way that you can see what I'm actually doing. I know this is a terrible video, but I'll have to do a proper one when I finally remember to bring my stand with me. Right, see if you can see what I'm doing now. Yeah, right, okay, not the best. So this is the setting tool. I'll put a bit of fluorescent tape on there because I'm forever leaving it on the ground and can't find it. And the way it works is you slot between the two arms of the spring, and then as you put it forward you open it up. I'll do a better video on this later date when it's a bit more controlled. And then there's a little bit of a gap at the very bottom. I don't know if you can see that. That's the bit that goes towards the bottom. It makes the ring unstable, so you put it in about a third of the way down, and then very slowly take your setting off, and that's now set. And the way it works is they're very light, that will move very easily with very little pressure. So if a mole comes along and touches that with its nose, you've got your mole. That's why I like these. They're very, very efficient, very versatile, and you'll see when I've finished they're out the way as well, so you're not worried about dogs' noses or cats or whatnot. Right, now I've got that one set. I'm just going to put it into the hole. Now, the way I've tied my rings on, I tie it to the top like this. And the reason why I do that is, as I push it, it can't move. The pressure on the bottom of the ring as I'm sliding it in will stop it from moving, because it's trying to pivot in this direction, which means the string's stopping it. So you need that string, because once they're triggered off underground, you will lose that square and you'll never get it back. Believe me, I've lost many, even when they have been tied. So there we go, you can see now I'm putting that into the tunnel. There we go, there we go. So I'm going to just nestle that in the tunnel, like so. That's set. Right, I've got 2 more to do, so I'm just going to pause while I do those 2, so I can do them with both hands, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I've finished. Right, don't worry I said another 2, there's only one going there. So I've got 2, one's going one direction, so one's going into that way, and one's going that way, so whichever way the mole comes I can catch it. There is a chance occasionally where you actually catch one from each direction. This particular time I think there's only going to be one mole, so once I've caught it that'll be it. Already this year I've had about 6 out of this customer, so these are just new ones that are popping up. I'll just get them as soon as I can. So what I now do is Temu special flags. It's the sort of thing they stick on the side of the road when they're doing stuff, but these are from Temu, they're dirt cheap. And the only time you can't use these is if you're sticking them in a paddock where you got horses, donkeys, sheep, anything like that, because they do like to nibble the top off. I've got some slightly smaller ones which I made myself out of some fluorescent tape across a thicker stick. But the other way to do it as well is something like a tent peg, cheap plastic tent peg, just to mark where it is so you can find it. But in gardens I tend to use these ones, so people know where they're sat, they know where they are. So what I will do now is I'm not going to do anything else in that hole. There's a little bit of grass falling in there, so I'll just get that grass out. As I said earlier, I don't know grass in there. Right, so now we've got those set. The 2 rings are sitting on top of, the 2 ends are sitting on top of each other. So what I will do now is push my flag in the middle of my core I've taken out, and then I shall use that. There it is. I shall use that. Sorry, this is a really bad video. I can't see on the screen now. I don't know if you can see, but I can see the ring there. So what I'm going to do is just push that into the rings of the 2 and then push it down, so that will secure all those traps from moving. It's very rare they move. If it's been triggered by a mole, they're not going to drag it anywhere because it will take them around the head. That's it, mole gone. So now not always need to, but generally what I will do now is get a little bit of dirt from a molehill, and where I've cut with the trowel I shall just put a little bit of soil, and the same as when we're top dressing a lawn, I will rub that into the grass. All I'm doing is cutting out any drafts or light to the tunnel, because that will alert the mole that there's something wrong. So I'm just going to rub that in. So all I've done is just resealed it, should I say. Right, now from a standpoint position, because of the sunshine you can't see that, but if I rock it up a bit more, so my hole's virtually invisible now. Now it's up to you now at this stage, if you wanted to take the molehill out, and the best way of doing that is just do the same as you would if you were doing a top dressing on the lawn. Don't worry about taking it and putting it away. This is actually quite decent soil, so it's actually quite good for the grass. So if you just rub it in like so. So I've just burked that onto the grass just so the grass doesn't die off. First lot of rain, that'll be virtually invisible. If you do this when you first do your molehills, I'll go and do the same to that one over there now, is you can see next time you come if new molehills are popping up. If they are, you know where the mole's active. So rather turning up and I've got 20 odd molehills, of which I can't remember were here last time. If I come next time and a molehill pops up here, I know somewhere around here is an active area for the moles, so that's where I'll start looking for the tunnels, because I know that's where they're actually active, rather than an old molehill like this one, which won't be doing anything because they've already moved on. And typically, like I said, a little bit of understanding with moles. If you're doing a garden, it's always best to try and the flower beds or along the fencing lines, because that's what happens here. They come from this paddock, and eventually they find their way here, this is quite hard going here because it is used by the horses in and out. But once they hit the fence, they suddenly find there's a weaker layer of soil, so they will follow that. So this is almost like a motorway. You imagine this as a motorway. New moles will come in this way. They will use this. This is how they find new breeding grounds or new feeding grounds. They'll follow existing tunnels. Now they are quite territorial, so they don't live as a group. But equally, a lot of people go, oh, they're territorial, so you've only got one mole. No, like I said, this one, the very first week I did this and set traps at this site, I got 5, and that was in a couple of days. So they are territorial, but just because you've got moles doesn't mean there's only one. There's always a chance of more. But anyway, back to our motorway. So this is a great place to set traps to catch them on the way in. If this was my own property and I was checking the traps on a regular basis, this is where I'd set them, because I'd catch them before they get into the main area. Obviously, it's I can't be coming every day to check traps for every customer. So what I do then is the second best, which is I target the area where I know it's currently active. It's already got into the lawn. It's possibly still living in the lawn. So by setting over here now, I've already missed my chance. That said, it doesn't hurt to put more in there, should you wish, while there is an active mole on the loose. But this very end here, I've caught about 3 out of just this one section, 1 hole, 1 tunnel, 3 moles, because this was sort of the highway in and out. This will then tend to branch off, and you'll get what you consider an A road. One might go that way, which could be 1 mole. One could go that way, which could be another mole. One could go that way, which is another mole. And then where they will defend that bit for themselves, because that's a food source. So that's where the territory comes in, is when they've got their own little patch, their own little food source. They will try and keep all the moles away. Obviously, the other time that's not true is this time of year in spring, where they're actually looking for mates to reproduce. But generally, that, if you think of it as a motorway, they all run up and down there as an access road. A roads is their main route for them, and then off the A road you will then get B roads, and the B roads are the feeding runs. So you tend to find them running circles. They might go up, round and back down again, and this is for catching worms. So what will happen is the worms will fall into the tunnel, and then little Moley, he'll sleep for about 4 hours. Then he'll take 4 hours running around his tunnels looking for trapped worms. He'll eat his fill until he can't eat no more. Then if there's any more worms he comes across, he actually, and it sounds wrong, but believe me, you can look it up, he nibbles the very end of the head off, just enough that it can't and doesn't kill the worm, but it does stop the worm from burying and getting away. It will then take it back to its, for want of a better word, nest, and it will have a small area, a small cave, which we call a larder, and he'll put the worms in there. So in times of hunger, if he's not getting any worms on his normal runs, he has a larder, and he will go back to there to eat the worms, because they're still alive and they can't escape. Nasty, but true. What other things can I say about moles? Right, the classic sign, the classic picture, should I say, of a molehill with a little mole popping out the top. Yeah, right. they're all set up for photographs. Moles live the majority of life underground. They don't pop up and have a look around and see what's going on. They live in the tunnels, that's all they do. They will come to the surface occasionally if they're trying to find new areas to put holes in, but that's quite rare. You'll tend to find they'll tunnel the way there, so most of the time they're actually in tunnels. Now, another classic that people always say to me is when I turn up and there's, I don't know, we'll call it 15, 20 molehills. They go, oh, there's so many moles. No, a molehill is the tunnel being excavated and then that surplus soil being pushed on top. That's not a home for a mole. So if you've got 20 molehills, that's not 20 moles. That could literally still be one mole. So as he digs, he'll dig along, he'll dig along, he'll dig along. Then he'll go, right, I'll go throw all the soil out. And he basically, almost like a breaststroke, he will push it behind him and throw it onto the surface. And then he'll start his next part of his tunnel. So on this occasion, when I've come in, I can see this is new, and that flag there just in print, that one's new. So there's a very good chance he's either working his way this way into the lawn, or he's in his lawn working his way that way, because he's digging new tunnels and the new molehills are the new spoil. So I could have, if you can see where my kneeling mat is there, if I was short on traps, I could try and potentially find the tunnel between the two in that area. But what I tend to do is go a little bit close. I don't tend to go as close as I have this time, but I tend to go a bit closer, just in case there's any T-junctions or multiple ways. So I've put one in here, because as far as we know, this could tee off. The tunnel could run between the two, but there could be a tee off over here. And if I put it there, and the mole's running this way and this way, I'm never going to catch it. So there we go. That's how I've set that up. I'm just going to knock this molehill down as well. Just going to fill this one in. So all I'm going to do, it's very hard to tell. I've even cord that you can just about see a little bit there. So all I'm going to do is just, like if I was top dressing, rub a bit of molehill in there. Now don't forget, this already smells of moley, so it's nothing that's going to arouse suspicion from him. They're actually quite intelligent, unbelievably. So we'll do that. And then again, this molehill, I'm just going to spread that out, just so it doesn't kill the grass, because you know the grass will go yellow and die off, and then you've got even more damage to repair. Right. There we go. Right, that's nice and tidy now. Now, that's a bit better. And it also means the grass is not going to die off by being smothered with a molehill. And it also means next time I come, if I find some new molehills popped up, I know it's still active, but I also know which area it's active. I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'll probably do another video on the different traps I do use. I don't just use these Putange. There's various other barrel traps and trigger traps and whatnot. I just prefer these. They're way more efficient. They are instant kill every time. I've never had a mole caught up and struggle or suffer. Not into that. It's got to be an efficient mole is caught and dead immediately. These are very good for that, and they're very versatile as well. Like I said earlier, if you dig a hole and suddenly find you're on top of a T-junction, you've got 3 directions to put traps in, you can do that with these. Right, I'll leave it to that for now. If it's any use to anybody, just give me a thumbs up. I know the video is very poor quality. I'll try and do a proper one when I've actually got my stand with me, so I can actually address the camera and keep it steady and focus on things. This was just a spur of the moment thing. Customer called me to say the moles have popped up again this morning. I know what it is. It's another new mole that's come in. The first time I started this, it was covered in molehills, and within a short period of time, we've pretty much got that knocked on the head. And it's just now, every now and again, every 2-3 weeks, a new mole ventures in. Eventually, they'll stop coming in. We'll run out of moles from this field to feed it. I could go and put some traps in this field, but I'm a bit unsure about it, because their kids ride the horses, and I don't really want like it's or the hull has been damaged because of falling down holes I've made to put traps in, or tripping over traps that are sticking out or whatnot. So it's just easy. It's just easier to just keep whittling away at it, and eventually we'll beat them and should hopefully get on top of it. So as I was going to say, if this video has been any good to you, give me a little thumbs up. I'm not worried about a subscribe, just a thumbs up's nice to know that somebody's actually watched it and it was worthwhile watching, or giving them a little bit of information anyway. If you do subscribe, if you do want to subscribe, feel free, because I will be doing hopefully a better quality video than this, and at least you have some sort of knowledge that that video has been put up online if you tick that bell button, and then it will tell you when I don't upload a lot, so it's not like you can have loads of notifications from my channel. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching.